Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's nice to see your faces again. We haven't done this in a while. We had the pandemic last year, which prevented us from having parent coffees, but I think it's always a great opportunity for our parents to be in a nice setting with our department chairs to be able to hear the amazing things that are happening in our classrooms with your children. You drop them off or they drive to school in the day, and as they are teenagers in the upper school, they are less willing to talk about their day. That happens as they get older and older. They get quieter and quieter at the dinner table about how their day was or what particularly happened. So this is a great opportunity for you to hear what's happening and the exciting things going on. I mentioned in the first coffee that we had some of the new courses and some of the new teachers and that kind of stuff, but I did want to update you a little bit on some things. The first one, Mrs. Silverman asked me to remind parents that if you have juniors or younger, there is a change to the vaccination requirements. And for 16-year-olds, there is a required MCV4 vaccine. And it begins with the juniors, and then we'll go down to the sophomores and be a thing moving forward. So that's just to make you aware that your child may need an updated vaccination. And we would appreciate you providing us with that information when it happens, or we can just continually check the WebIZ to get that information. But don't want you to be taken by surprise if you get an email that your child needs an updated vaccination, because it's a new thing. I also wanted to do a little update from college counseling. The November 1st deadline has passed. And so the upper school has, I think, right? Yay, Pauline, this is your baby too. Oh, congratulations. You made it. So that's always a really kind of high energy time in the upper school. And so, the college counselors are now smiling a little brighter because there's just that, again, they do an amazing job, but that anxiety that leading up to getting all that done and handled. They've done a great job with their letters and with working with the faculty and in their expressions of how amazing our seniors are and why these kids need to be accepted to amazing colleges. So they're breathing a sigh of relief. I hope they're sleeping in this morning. I think they're here, but again, they're working. There is still work to do, and they're doing a lot with our juniors currently, and even meeting with our sophomores and a little bit with our freshmen as well. So although November 1st has passed, we took one breath and now we're back at it. I also wanted to update a little bit from student activities. Mr. Ronquillo couldn't be here today, but we just had our homecoming last week, which was amazing. It is the time that I hide in my office just so the kids can have a better time without me scrutinizing their free dress days and their themed days and their activities. And the students were thrilled. I think they have been itching for this kind of stuff to come back. It really means a lot to them. Even the daily games and contests that they had, the dress days, the dance was, I think, the most attended dance in Meadows history, which, and Mr. Ronquillo laughs. He's like, oh, this is the year that we, said, again, we've continued the no party buses. And the first reaction was nobody's going to come to the dance. And well, hey, more kids than ever. And they had an amazing time. So sometimes you make changes and you have the right tone for things and they show up. The theme was great. The hallways looked amazing in the upper school. I hope you had an opportunity to see it, or your kids shared some pictures with you or told you about it. But it was kind of the happiest place on earth, Mickey Mouse and things everywhere. The entire common was decorated like the outside of the castle for the fireworks show, and there were fireworks hanging from lit up lights that Mr. Ronquillo had a remote control for and was playing with almost daily. For it to look like the castle was on the wall. The kids did an amazing job. They really worked weeks and weeks and weeks leading up to homecoming, and it was a great success. And I love when hard work pays off, and so our kids are feeling that as well. So that's wonderful, and Mr. Ronquillo is looking forward to continuing the planning with his student council students and other student leaders. Athletics, we're winding up our fall athletic season with great success. Congratulations to the tennis teams. Football is going tomorrow night to regionals. We have cross country is doing amazing things and going up to Reno this weekend. What am I missing? Golf. We've celebrated. We're able, because their season ended earlier than others, we were able to celebrate them at our homecoming activities. And so first place for the girls, just amazing. So athletics is really successful, and the kids are thrilled and participating, and as it changes how everything feels in the upper school when those kids come back and they're in the morning announcements and we celebrate them. And so I wanted to first then turn over to our next program, if you will. And so I'll let Mr. Gordon speak first. He is one of our debate coaches. I know, look at that. We're not going to go in order. So I'll hand this to you. Yeah, that's fine.
Is the microphone close enough to my mouth? Okay. Hi, I'm Mr. Gordon. I'm one of the 2 debate coaches here at Meadows. I see a few debate parents in the crowd. I'm just kind of up here to give you an update because our team's pretty large. We have over a third of the 9th grade class is in debate this year, which is probably our biggest year so far. And we've also had our highest rate of attendance already at this point in the season. We're about at the halfway mark. For those of you that don't know, Meadows debate is co-curricular, so the students take a course in debate, but the purpose of that course is to prepare them to compete against other schools. We're off to a great start. This is one of the best 9th grade classes we've had in a long time, so we're really excited about that. Some of the students are debating about water policy and how the federal government should protect water resources, certainly a pertinent topic for the Las Vegas area. And some of our students have been debating about patents for vaccinations, medical patents, and the whole debate behind that. And now some of them are transitioning to a new topic on whether or not workers should have the right to strike. So we're covering a lot of very interesting new ideas. And, I just like to get up here to let you know that the whole purpose of the debate program really does go beyond the team, because we're also starting to work with some of the departments, starting with English, on expanding debate into the curriculum beyond the debate class, so that students in other subject areas in their English classes, for example, are starting to have debates on various topics. One of the popular activities is the sophomore class. They debate about whether or not the book Huck Finn should be taught in its original form or censored. And the 11th grade English class started off with a debate over their summer reading. So we are trying to expand beyond it, because our view of the program long-term going forward is, since this is a college prep school, we are trying to prepare students for the fact that when they leave Meadows, they're going to go to a large campus with many people who have a wide diversity of opinions. And debate is just about trying to teach them how to understand those, whether you agree with someone or disagree, but to at least put you in a place where you can evaluate the position of that person, put yourself in their shoes, and sort of use your critical thinking to also exercise empathy. So that's really been a cornerstone of the approach Mr. Alderetti, the other coach, and I have been taking this year, because we know, especially at a college prep school, but even more once they get to the university, they have to be able to be in a room with people with widely varying viewpoints. They have to be able to treat those people with respect, but also understand their own beliefs and advocate for their beliefs as well as the beliefs of others. So we're really pumped about this opportunity to sort of work with other departments to integrate these skills a little bit more in the classroom. And like I said, right now we have a huge chunk of the school that's competing, so their students are really getting to learn a lot of information in class that they just aren't exposed to in their other classes, especially at that 9th grade level. So if you have any questions or anything, I'm always available to talk, but that's my pitch on what our direction is in debate this year and kind of where we're hoping to be going forward.
All right. Gladly. Is this close enough to my head? I have some prepared things. I don't want to forget about all the great things that we're doing, so forgive me if I look at the paper every now and then. But we were excited when the school year started, especially in English, because we're having all students in the classroom. You recall last year we did the hybrid model where some students were on Zoom and some of them were in the room, and that we were able to do. But this year everyone's in the classroom and everybody seems really eager and excited to hear each other, see each other, share ideas and opinions with one another. And, in the English classroom, we are having some really productive conversations, which are just fantastic. Conversations based on the things that we're reading. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. But this year, we're really happy to have two new faculty members in the upper school. In our 9th grade, we have Mrs. Valerie Bugney, and she is taken the 9th grade program to next level learning and understanding of things. And she's bringing an amazing amount of experience into the room and an amazing amount of nurturing and caring for our 9th grade students. In 11th grade, we have Dr. Mary Vance that is spearheading a little evolution of the 11th grade reading program that I'll talk about in just a minute. And she brings university level expertise as well as private school experience into the 11th grade classroom. Some of that evolution of the English program involves what we're doing to kind of shift a little bit of what's going on in the 11th grade. You may recall specifically that was a year for strictly British literature. And what we have learned from student input and student feedback is that in their 12th grade year, which was world literature, they wanted more world literature. They wanted to see more texts from different countries and hear different voices talking about some of the very familiar themes that they might be used to, but just to hear from different perspectives. So with the intention to expand our world literature curriculum in the 12th grade, this year in 11th grade, we're calling, instead of British literature, we're calling it European literature. So some of the texts that are studied in 12th grade are coming down into the 11th grade for European literature, and then that will enable us next year to broaden the scope of our world literature program. And just, the aim is always to guide our students into understanding not only the value of story, but I'm noticing more and more lately the value of appreciating literacy as a whole. A lot of times in the English department, especially as students at our school have been reading for a very long time, they sometimes might have the idea that I can read now, so I don't need to keep reading these works and these ideas. I always try to tell them that, yes, you can stand up and walk and stay balanced, but you haven't learned how to dance quite yet. So in every year, we're teaching them different dances. We're showing them how literacy can open up the ideas of their world so they can think about them critically. Critical thinking, besides literacy, is a pillar of what we do in the English department, and it all feeds into the last idea of writing and composition. So we're always looking and tweaking what we're doing in terms of college prep composition program here. And in the English department, we take that idea very seriously, and your students are basically getting a freshman college class starting in the middle of the 11th grade year. And by the 12th grade year, they've pretty much had a whole freshman composition curriculum in the back pocket that they can take with them to college so that they can be ahead of others in their age group as writers. And at the risk of babbling, I'm going to hand this over to Senor.
Thank you. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm going to try to update you a little bit with the languages since we are growing to this year. We had a good first quarter, actually, very good first quarter. The adjustment for kids, when they come back from vacation, usually it's about 3 weeks. It took us about 6 to 7 weeks this year. But now we are in a nice groove, and the participation, it's very active from the students, and we love that. So in Spanish, we just finished like a big cultural point, Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. So in pretty much every classes, we've been discussing, talking about it, and students are very motivated actually to talk about that. French is going very smooth this year, and as a matter of fact, we tried something different yesterday. Yesterday we did, for the first time, we did a workshop, a poetry workshop with someone from Canada. And the feedback that I got from the group of students who attended it, it was great. So it's something I'm going to look into it more and just see what we can offer for the future. Latin, it's a good year so far. As a matter of fact, we have good numbers of students taking Latin 2, like we never had those numbers, I think, before. So that's we changed a little bit the program, the methods, I guess, in middle school last year. So to invite the students to like it a little bit better, but they do. It worked. It worked out well. We had 2 Latin 2 class this year, so very good. I'm very happy about that. Chinese, all right, the newest language. Well, it's a great year so far. The response and the enrollment has been great. Students, I have them. They are in C period and I have them in D period. So it's often I have them right after. And so they come and they told me what they've done and everything. And I sat in the class too. And I'm impressed that after 9 weeks, 10 weeks now, I guess, they read, not everything. They read some Chinese, they write some Chinese, they speak some Chinese. I'm very, very impressed by the program, the way it's going so far. So the department, the faculty did an amazing job. Math, not easy to teach a language, we tell you that. But I'm very, very proud of the entire team. And like we did manage it so well that it's actually, it doesn't seem to be much of a problem anymore. That's about it. I mean, our curriculum, we adapted it a little bit to make sure that last year was a different year, that we were on track and everything, and it's going well. It's going very well. One thing I want to add to the parents, because I got a few emails in the past. It's about tutoring. I have some parents, they're concerned a little bit about the language skills for their children. And we have a great tutoring program here on site that is given by our amazing seniors, juniors. They are very comfortable with the language, so they lived it, they experienced it, and they give very great advice and good guidance to our students. Pronunciation, everything. So that's something they should take advantage of it. That's about it for me, I think.
I guess it's my turn. Good morning, parents. My name is Dr. Slater. I am the chair of the Social Sciences Department. I think the vibe in our department is really excited to have students back in our classrooms. It was a little lonely last year. And I think as teachers, and I think I speak for every teacher in the division, we enjoy it best, and I hope that your students enjoy it best when we're all in the classroom learning together. We've been sort of focusing in our department, I would say, on 3 kind of themes. One is making sure that we're really focusing on the fundamental skills, and it's something that we share with other departments. So when Mr. DeVito was talking about reading, writing, and literacy, those are things we're really working on too. Fundamentally also, we're very focused on collaboration. A lot of times in our classrooms, what we're doing as teachers is sort of facilitating student learning, not just from us at the front of the room, but really focused on students learning from each other and collaborative learning. So thinking about 21st century skills, right? How are we doing in our classroom, not only teaching them content that we think that's important for them, but skills that are going to transfer, right? What we call long-term transfer into their next class, but then out into the real world, out into college where, right, when we're in a high school learning environment, we're a little bit more protected and a little bit more supported along that way. But as we all remember from college, you're a little bit more on your own. So how do we teach them skills that are going to help them thrive, not just survive, right, when they are a little more training wheels off? So collaboration is part of that. A lot of group work, a lot of facilitating knowledge, a lot of big questions, what we call compelling questions, right? Questions that aren't like, what happened on this date, but why did this happen, right? What was the most important this or that? So getting back to that real critical thinking that's so essential and so important for when our students go out into the world and they're bombarded with information from all different sides. How do we teach our young people to think critically and knowingly for themselves, right? And do that. And so that's really been a focus of our department, and kind of tiering those skills from 9th grade all the way up to 12th grade. How do we support that learning from our learners who are just starting to practice those skills all the way up to seniors who we expect through working also in our English department, and hopefully also collaborating with Mr. Gordon with debate. How do we really foster their independence in that, right? So we can kind of sit back and watch them thrive and learn and be the amazing students we know them to be. The other thing that we're really working on is kind of one of our pillars as a school, which is community, and sort of thinking about how do we go out into the community, but how do we also bring the community in? So one of the things that happened in the 9th grade classroom just last week was Mr. Zimmering actually had a scholar who works at UNLV who happens to be like the worldwide expert on the atlatl, which is, if you don't know this, an Aztec throwing spear. And so he came in and he did a presentation with our 9th graders. He actually also works at our lower school with Mrs. Otsby, and does like this whole interactive thing where they go out and hunt mammoths like on the yard. So we're really thinking as a department, and a department that is actually kind of K through 12, like how can we bring the community in, right? How can we bring experts in who can talk about their knowledge? But we'd also, once we feel more safe and comfortable in terms of COVID and whatnot, actually bring our students out into the community. So if you want to learn about history, why not go to Red Rock and look at the petroglyphs? Why not go to, say, the Mob Museum and learn about the history? So we're really sort of focused on how we can do that responsibly and safely and integrate kind of community learning for our students, because that's how we learn as we become adults. And so really bringing that in. So those are our 3 sort of themes this year. I think we're really enjoying the process of that. Our kids are thriving. When you walk down our hallway, there's a lot of laughter and engagement. It's loud, it's exciting, and that's what we want. We shouldn't have students just staring at the front of the room, listening to somebody talk. They should be talking with each other. And that's really been our focus this year. So we're excited to have them back and excited to see you here today. Mr. Vollan, are you ready?
I'm ready. Good morning, everyone. To those of you here, I see so many familiar faces behind the masks. I'm Rod Vollan. I'm the Mathematics and Computer Science Department Chair. And to those of you who will view this online, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you at whatever time you choose to watch this Parent Coffee. I like to reflect back on items. I'm a data person. And March of 2020 put us in an unprecedented time. I'll speak from the educational part. When I look at the data, when I look at ACT scores, PSAT scores, SAT scores, AP exam scores, when I evaluate each teacher's semester exam is perused and evaluated by me, and when I look at what was accomplished by our community, I was just incredibly impressed. It was a tremendous community effort. I was amazed what our students were able to do. I was amazed at the way the faculty pivoted. I was amazed how parents navigated this transitional time. I was amazed with administratively how we were able to provide resources to provide the best education under that condition. And if I take out the fact that I knew what happened in March of 2020 until the present day, there was no change in the performance of our students. And I just think that's a tremendous credit to this whole community. However, we can't let the situation created by March of 2020 stymie evolution in our department. So we've continued to evolve. And a lot of this evolution has resulted from real frank dialogue with students, college counselors, administrators, parents, and faculty at Meadows. So I want to point out some of the growth changes, some of the evolution that has occurred. There appeared to be a need for summer workshops for students that weren't confident about some of their skills entering a math class. So for the first time in 10 years, summer boot camps were offered. It prepared students for the necessary algebra skills that they would need to enter geometry. And then we teach in a sequence of Algebra 1 geometry, then a version of Algebra 2. So at that gap year of geometry, some of the students hadn't had practice concepts of Algebra 1. And as a result, we offered a boot camp for advanced algebra. being able to recap some of the fourth quarter concepts of Algebra 1, because those are entry-level learning targets for any type of Algebra 2 course. Last year, for the first time in the 11 years I've been here, we offered an honors trig course for half credit. And what that provided, it provided an opportunity for our students to alter their math trajectory. I'll get back to that in a few seconds here. This year, we are offering a full credit honors pre-calculus AB course in the summertime. At the current time, Mr. Swissionis and myself are going to co-teach that course. And the purpose for these summer credit offerings, one of my goals as a department chair has been to provide an avenue for students, no matter what their entry point is mathematically, to be able to conclude with a calculus course if that is in their best interest. And so we have a process. Due to a lot of dialogue with parents, myself, students, college counselors, there are some tremendous opportunities for students in the field of engineering between their junior and senior year. It will put our students at a competitive advantage for these opportunities if they can have calculus on their transcript their junior year. To offer pre-calculus in the summertime will provide opportunities, better opportunities for our students, put them in better position to their areas of interest and gather from these internships. So anything we do, it's in pursuit of better. And if there are ideas of how to create better, please don't hold them to yourself. Reach out to me, email me. If you're on campus at a time and want to arrange a conversation, please feel free to do that, because these specific pieces of evolution have resulted from dialogue. Not that we necessarily agreed on things, but they were the end result of some good. And I always welcome the opportunity to talk about math. Before I leave, though, however, we're still in a pandemic. Everyone in here is masked. Just the routine conversation of a classroom. I didn't hear you. Would you repeat that again? Could you speak louder? We're still dealing with challenges from that. And at the end of the day, yes, I want my students to be able to solve problems. I want them to be incredibly math literate. I want them to be precise with their math vocabulary. But while we're still dealing with challenges, I think it's pretty important that we remain patient, we remain empathetic, and we remain kind, because that's where we're going to get the most growth. And I don't know if we have to have a pandemic to emphasize those characteristics, because I think growth is a result of good relationships. And so if we continue to strive on that, continue to pursue better, I look for the continued evolution and the opportunities we can provide for your children in the area of mathematics. So anyway, great seeing you guys today. Thanks for indulging me and listening to me. And here's Mr. Schafer.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I am Matt Schafer. I am here representing the science department. If you've been with us for a while and you've heard me speak before, you're probably aware that in recent years, in response to sort of the National Research Council studies on education and science and the production of the next generation science standards, we really, and changes in national standards, we stopped to take a look at our own curriculum in response to what those recommendations were. And by and large, what we were doing here, we were achieving many of what those new recommendations were, and that is we were providing a solid foundation in content and providing students an amazing opportunity to work through lab experiences here on campus, so they understood the tools of science as well as the content of science, and that led us to a program which was amazing in supporting our APs. But one thing that we did find in those recommendations that we considered something we could work on is adding more skills related to what scientists actually do with that data once they uncover it, which is essentially solving problems and using data to support arguments, to make points and further their understanding of science. And so in that, what we've done in our freshman and sophomore classes is we've introduced the idea that students unpack information under the guidance of a teacher rather than the teacher simply providing content. And we also have students using data that they collect in the lab to go back, compare it to their notes, compare it to what they unpack, and produce written essays that are evidence-based arguments for a claim that they make based on their findings. I've never had students writing so much in a science class as long as I've been teaching for 30 years, and the results have been amazing. They found it very challenging. They find it very challenging in the first quarter, but their skills have developed phenomenally in the sophomore classes. We've provided an opportunity for students to choose a research topic based on their own interests and relate it to the chemistry that they're learning as a part of the regular course curriculum. We've expanded our department to include 2 levels of engineering, which provide students the opportunity to not only be presented with problems, but actually solve them academically and then build their solutions to make those things come to life and fail along the way. We've developed advanced topics courses that are focused on research. We have one that is chemistry based, and we have one that is life science based, and students have the ability to choose a topic under the guidance of their teacher, research that topic. Some of the students we're requiring in the life science one to participate in the Nevada Science Fair. We've had students participating in other competitions that are research-based around the country, and they're doing very well. The students that were working with me in the past on Science Olympiad came back to me this fall with the response that, the Science Olympiad is kind of fun, but all of these research projects that people are involved in are much more meaningful, and they're taking more time. And so that Science Olympiad team has sort of transitioned into a founding board for National STEM Honor Society membership. We've joined the National STEM Honor Society, and we're going to provide Honor Society opportunity to students who qualify. We're going to not only tick the boxes and say you've done all the things that you need to do in order to be an honor student and graduate with your science honors cord at the end of your Meadows experience, but they also realize that a lot of the students that have connections in the community had more opportunity to do independent research. So they want to provide a forum that encourages students to make these connections, that helps students that don't have these connections be able to find these connections so that they have chances to work in the community, as well as run their research projects through our advanced topics courses. So the response has been phenomenal. We still have an amazing program that supports our APs. Our AP scores last year were as good as they've been in recent years. The department's just expanding, and the understanding of science is expanding, and the students are much more involved in doing science and really understanding the role of science in the community at large beyond what's provided in a textbook. And I'm really proud of the work that's been done. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to examine the success of what we have been able to do, and we're also examining what maybe some of the limitations are. It's a constant sort of approach to progress. We want to be measured, but we want to provide the kids all the opportunities that we think that they deserve and that we can possibly provide for them. If you ever have any questions about what's happening in our science program, please feel free to reach out to me. One other thing, all of the students that are running research through our different classes or independently this year, we're working to provide some sort of forum at the end of the year that will allow them to present their findings in a professional way. We want to put up a website that allows them to publish their results for the larger community to be able to see and really, again, put sort of a capstone experience on that for our junior and senior students that have really dedicated themselves to a larger and more sophisticated path in science. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Do you have questions for the department chairs, or should we let them go to school? Pauline.
I just want to say thank you for doing what you're doing for math, because we used to have an accelerated math program in middle school. And I find our kids, no matter how hard they try, they can't get to multivariable calculus. And it's a real shame, because if you really don't have that, we can't think it's futile to apply to Caltech, MIT, or any of the top engineering schools. Same thing with science. I'm so glad you're doing the research, because when my kids were looking at such a top like MIT, Caltech, Georgia Tech, it was futile. They said, we've done no research. And at that point, what do you do? And I'm just, what? applaud you for what you're doing for the freshmen and sophomores. Because if we are going to be a top school and give our kids the best possible exposure, they need that research. They need the accelerated math. It's just the way the world is. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I probably should have handed the microphone to Pauline. I could repeat all of that verbatim. So I will do that moving forward. I'm sorry. I was remiss in that. And I know Mr. Vollan now wants to talk. Pauline was saying thank you for the changes and the evolution that has occurred, and Mr. Vollan wants to respond.
Thank you. And we've also begun that in the middle school now. So now we've created a situation where you can't get acceleration wrong, because there's no fallback plan if they reach a stage of development that they're not ready for 3 or 4 years down the road. But we have begun an advanced program in middle school where a very select group of 6th graders will be able to conclude 8th grade with geometry as part of our overall pre-K through 12 program, again, to best meet student needs.
You were almost going to grab that. We're just going to hand it to me. I was like, okay, all right. In keeping with all of that too, one of the things I always used to hear, especially when I first came to the Meadows School, was, and even as a parent, that my child is a math science child, my child is a humanities child. You know, that there's like a left brain, right brain stuff, and no one talks like that anymore, which I think is really interesting. I think if you ask all the freshmen, you know, are you math and science, or are you English and history, and they're all everything, which I think is great, which means we've done the job. You go in a science classroom, and I can't tell who's into it or not, because they're all into it. Like, who's not thriving in this environment. It's really exciting to see. The best times of my day is when I'm walking up and down the hallways and being in classes and talking to students, and participating in, you know, what they're doing. So it's exciting. Do the same thing. I wish you could come in and have shadow days with us, and hang out and see what's going on. So I hope your students are still talking to you at the dinner table about their day. But this was just a way to get some more information about our programs, about the particular classes, and I hope you have that information now. And you know, maybe ask them at the dinner table about, what are you writing in science class? What? Any more questions for the department chairs, and then we can move on. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
A couple of other things that kind of came up as the department chairs were speaking. I wanted to reiterate or mention, if you don't already know, the different support offerings we have for your students in the upper school. Mr. Gordon mentioned something about it. Mr. DeVito did as well. We have the time from 3 to 4 in the afternoons is really dedicated to student support. I get at 3 o'clock, those kids want to get out of the building and the teachers laugh. And sometimes they say, well, we do too. I say, well, okay, tutor outside. And they can today, but maybe not tomorrow. We have a tutoring center that is student run with our National Honor Society. We have a writing center that helps our students with their essays, and even in the brainstorming process all the way through the final edits. Those things are really important. Those offerings are there. So if your child is struggling, we can facilitate tutoring. We can help with essays. Teachers are there to help them after school, with that time dedicated to that. So it's an important thing that we're offering. And the teachers were funny. They said at the beginning of the year, I didn't realize how many students were actually going to utilize that time from 3 to 4. They're thrilled that it's happening, but I think they didn't expect it. I thought I think their initial thought was that they'd be sitting in the classroom staring at the clock and wondering, or maybe grading. And that's not what has happened. So it's exciting. Students are utilizing it, but if you're not aware, please encourage your child to take advantage of that. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is trips. We are planning our trips this year. And so we're fingers crossed. Our parents have done the registration for the sophomore trip for Puerto Rico. And we have record numbers of students participating in that. And Walking Tree, the company that we partner with, is very excited and has already come to campus and done a presentation. And so we're in communication with them as well. And the college trips, and that information is going to be coming out very soon about the destinations. And we're still working on COVID restrictions because every college that we visit has a different policy that they're requiring that we follow. So it's going to be very tricky. And we even have to look at the city ordinances and those kinds of things, because restaurants and there is like one fun thing that each of the trips does. Last year, I know the California trip, they spent a day at Disneyland. Well, so then we would have to know what the protocols are at Disneyland. So we're working on all that information. So that will be coming out. I think the students will be able to do the registration in November, and we'll do the rollout somewhere around the 15th. And those trips will be happening in the first week of April. It's not in my head right now, but it's on the calendar. And it's called Trips Week. So do you have any questions for me otherwise? I also wanted to mention volleyball regionals are Saturday. I have a volleyball player. I should know this. But that's in my notes, and the one thing I didn't mention. So a lot of exciting things. How are you guys doing? What's happening with your kids? What questions might you have? That was the most comprehensive parent coffee ever. And Pauline had a compliment and a thank you and a kudos and a yay and a kudos and a compliment, and that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're doing a lot of exciting things in the upper school, and yeah, no, it's.
You know, it's my plea for parents to become more involved with their kids in athletics.
Yeah.
It is truly discouraging for our kids to go to a state tournament and have one parent there or two parents there, when every other state tournament team has 20, 50 parents.
Mm-hmm.
We are a small community, and we need to get back to that small community.
Well, we are a small community, which means that our numbers are really, really important, because we can't compare when it comes to showing up to things.
36 people on your tennis team.
You should have. Yeah. Right. That's a really important question, something that I've thought about for many years. And just for those of you at home, we're talking about parent participation at events, athletic events, but other events. I've been a band parent for 14 years or something, with my various children going up through the programs. And I have been witness to parents dropping their child off with their instrument to go to the concert and not coming to the concert to see their child. And again, there's no judgment there, because there could be a very good reason that a parent cannot attend that event. But I noticed that we have our young people doing these things. And maybe it's because our kids do so many things. There's no way that we can possibly participate as spectators and encouragers of all this. But maybe there's a better way. Maybe there is a way to being able to do that. And maybe we as a community can encourage more of that as well, is the other thing that I've been thinking about this as well, Pauline, that what are we doing to encourage our parents to come to these events? One thing that's sitting uncomfortably with me is I had a new parent come to me and say that they had, and they did at the very beginning, saying, what can I do to help? I don't know how to be a parent here. I don't know what I can participate in. And again, we also are dealing with the COVID situation. And so we're kind of coming back in, and new parents don't know what it was previous to this. And so I did something that I've taken to heart, is that I had a parent say to me that they had attended an athletic event. It happened to be, and they were sitting near a group of parents, and it was not a welcoming environment. And they said that it made them uncomfortable to come to events after that because of what they overheard. And I think sometimes we get into knowing our friends. I mean, there are little pockets of community within our community. And I hope that when we are attending events that we're positive when we're there, that we're encouraging of parent participation and welcoming parents that we don't know. Even in this coffee, if there are parents sitting that you don't recognize and haven't introduced yourself to, if you're a new parent, please introduce yourself. I think it starts there. I think COVID is part of it, but I think we can do things to be more welcoming and more encouraging of parent participation. And it's so important, because if you've gone to those things where you have that group of parents and you're all supporting the kids and it feels amazing, and we need to bring that back as best we can. So I'm open to ideas as well. You can talk to Mr. Vollan about your math ideas, which is great, because I can't, because I have none. But I'm really focused on this issue, and I'm open to ideas because I agree we need more participation, we need more positivity, because our kids are doing amazing things and we're not there, and we need to be there. We need to be there for each other. We need to be there for our kids. because it really matters. And as you know, you got your baby about to graduate, and this time goes by so fast. And man, I even as a parent wish that there are many more things that I had attended, and not just attended, but been more present at when I was there. So I take your point, and I hope that we can move forward as a community and bond more and better, and increase our numbers and encourage and support our children. I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I hope you have an amazing day. Welcome to No School November. It goes by really fast. There are 10 less days in Q2 school days than in Q1, even though the weeks equal the same. So it's going to go by very quickly, and we'll be into winter break. So enjoy. Thank you so much for your time.